Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to the Bus 13 channel. I'm doing a very quick, unfiltered, unedited project update on Project MGF, which is currently in a bit of a state. So the last video I uploaded was the exhaust manifold gasket replacement. I have done a huge amount of work on the car since then. I've been videoing bits of it, but unfortunately I'm just not getting the time to sit down and edit those videos up and get them uploaded. So there will probably be a bulk of Project MGF videos will all come on in a short space of time, which will cover quite a long period of time in reality. So this is currently how Project MGF looks in what's probably the world's messiest garage. I took the car off the road in November 2021. We're currently in April 2022. So when I took the car off the road, I thought the line of the project was replace the front subframe, put new brakes on it, front and rear, couple of patches to weld in the floor, and just any other tidy up jobs I came across as I went along. Now that last part is what's caused this car to be off the road for so long. So back in November I took a trip down to Southport and got a refurbished and galvanised front subframe for Project MGF. The original front subframe was very rusty. I've got a clip of that which will feature in a full video when I get to doing it on replacing the subframe. So in here now we've got that replacement subframe which was galvanised, and I've now gone over it with Brulac BC80 underseal. It's a bronze coloured underseal. It looks quite nice, I think. So we've replaced the subframe. The lower arms, they were very rusty. The bushes and the ball joints were in good nick, but the arms themselves were rusty, so we've replaced them. On this side we've got a Monroe shock absorber that was replaced a year or two before I got the car, but I've now put a matching one on the driver's side because the one on that side was leaking. We've got new upper ball joints, we've got new wheel bearings. I had to replace the stub axles because the ABS rings were very rusty and ready to break. We've also got new tractor ends. These are all things, because everything was stripped down, the parts were so cheap to replace, I thought I'll just replace them anyway. The top ball joints were in quite good nick anyway, but I thought I'm just going to change them. The tractor ends, one of them was worn, and again wheel bearings, one of them was noisy, so that's why there's been a new pair of wheel bearings on there. These upper knuckles in the arms, I replaced them because I managed to get a couple of Lucas replacements for 16 or 17 quid a shot. Brakes, I'm doing an upgrade to the 304mm 4-pot AP brake calipers. So we've got the bigger discs on here which are all brand new, and I'm also replacing the brake lines, the flexible brake hoses, because the originals on this car were pretty rusty, so we're replacing them just as a matter of course. So that's the front end is pretty much now completed. In that regard, I need to get the suspension all pumped back up again, and I need to get the tracking done, but otherwise, I also need to go around and do just a quick torque check on all the bolts. That's why the lock tab on the top knuckle hasn't been knocked over yet. Just once I've got everything in place and settled, I'll just go around with a torque wrench and just do a torque check on all of the bolts. So considering that that's all done, what is it that's held this car off the road? Simple answer, it's stuff like this. So before I got the MGF, somebody at some point has put a patch on the passenger side sill here. As you can see, the rust has now built up around about the patch, and generally speaking she's in a bit of a rusty mess. So rust is what's held this car up. So it started out with the floors. We'll take a quick look in here again, excuse the mess. I'll bring the torch in. I did say this was unedited, so here we go. Sorry for the noise. So this little repair plate I put in here, which is, it's not pretty but it's solid. This area from the factory would have been a hole drilled in the floor here, and there would have been a grommet sealed into that from the factory. Now what's happened is the grommet's corroded, the sealant has failed, the grommets fell out, and the floor that was left exposed has started to rust. So I thought, got a patch here in the same place over on the driver's side, that would be that. But when I pulled the carpet out, I discovered that we had a huge amount of rust behind where the seat bolts in. So we've now got patches in here as well. Even the seat mounting, this surface here was getting to the point of having holes in it, so I've had to put a plate up into here. But then I went a bit further and discovered that underneath the fuel tank, this is the passenger side, which isn't as bad, but there was rust under here, which when you go under the car, you discover that it's here. This is the subframe mounting for the rear, and this is the floor. This is a strengthening panel you can see from inside the car. This is the bulkhead here, and this rust, because it's within the vicinity of the mounting point for the subframe, this needs to be structurally sound, so I'm having to cut out all of this rust and piece stuff back in again, which I've started on the driver's side. But once again, it's not pretty, but it should be solid. Now, this is the welder that I have. It's an SIP MigMate Turbo 130 dual purpose, so it can be used with gas or with gasless flux cord wire. But if you Google this welder, you'll discover it is rubbish. And I'm having, part of the reason why my welds look so rubbish is that the welder is rubbish. I know a bad tradesman blames his tools, but you Google that welder, you'll probably find out that most people that have it, they make it into a good welder, but basically replacing everything inside it. So we're going to take a quick move over to the driver's side and take a look at here. So I have, on the driver's side, we've cut out this lower sill section because, again, rust. I've got sill repair sections which came from Mike Satur, or Satur. I'm afraid I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Which include, I also got these sill end closing panels from him. So he was the only person I could find that actually made sill repair panels for these cars. As time has gone on, I've kind of learned that most of the tooling went to China when SAIC or SIAC, when they took over MG. So getting repair panels for these things is quite difficult. The inner sills here, this is really the structure of the car. These are actually really quite solid. Didn't need much more than a quick wire brush and tidy up. But the sill lip here, it has needed little bits welded on, which again, I'm kind of struggling to get a decent weld out of that welder. Some of it's okay, and then you get bits like this where it just looks like a pigeon's flown across and dropped its guts. The sill repair here, that will give a good bit of structure to the back end of the inner sill there as well. And yeah, generally we've also got in here, we've got like the inner wheel arch, which was quite rusty, and basically I've rubbed that back and given that side a coat of Vactan, whereas on the passenger side, we'll just cut to that, I've had to, in this side, I've had to piece in a repair plate, and that's welded in there and seam sealed in there. It's not really structural, it's just a shield to stop muck getting into the engine bay, but yeah, that was like Swiss cheese when I rubbed it, so it's not pretty, but it's functional, and that's what we're going for with this little MGF. So here we go, we're on the driver's side now, so this is the floor pan on the driver's side. On the passenger side I was piecing bits in, whereas on this side what I decided to do is just cut one big plate, weld it on top. I've cut out the rotten metal from underneath, and what was under there is good metal. I've left it in place, and I will stitch it from underneath just to make it all nice and solid and put a bit of strength back in there. Again, not pretty, but it's functional. Same idea at the back here, rather than piece bits into the floor, I've just cut a big plate, I've cut the rot out, I've welded the big plate on the top, and we'll do some stitching from underneath just to put some strength into it. This is underneath the fuel tank, so this side was a lot worse in the end than the passenger side for rust, so I've had to cut out a massive section of the floor here. I've had to cut this bit of the strengthening bar out just so I had access, and I've now welded in a bit there to repair the bulkhead. I've still got more of the bulkhead on the underside here to finish welding up. And then what I've purchased from Bearmark is actually these floor repair panels from a Discovery 1. So we'll cut bits out of that. Obviously it's got the strength ridges in there. I mean, these plates were only 16 quid each, so it's a cheap way of doing it, and we'll use some of that to piece in under here. Obviously there's been a strength ridge here, there's been a strength ridge here, so that, having the ridges pressed in, will put some strength into this bit of the floor under here. So yeah, that's kind of a quick update on why this little project has been off the road. I've had a personal reason as well that the car's kind of fell by the wayside. Last summer there, my mum, she was diagnosed with lung cancer, and unfortunately she passed away from that last month. So that's kind of put a bit of a stop on progress with this car. However, my mum, her initials were JET, so this car is now JET the MGF, just in memory of my mum. So that as well has put a kind of a stop on project with the car. But my mum did give me money towards fixing the car up before she passed away. It was a parting gift, if you will. And that's another reason why I've called the car Jet. Obviously because of that, and because my mum and I had went on a couple of little trips in this car, the car just very suddenly gained an awful lot of sentimental value. That's why I'm putting in the effort into welding up what is actually quite a rotten shell. But we'll get there. We will get there. None of this is beyond my capabilities. I just need a decent welder and I'll be laughing. But we'll get the car solid. We'll get it back out on the road again, hopefully later this year. It ain't going to be pretty, but it's going to be solid. It's going to be roadworthy. It's going to be safe. That's the main thing. So yeah, what I'll do just now, we'll have a quick look at a couple of little modifications otherwise that I've picked up for this little car. The first you've already spotted. I've got a pair of full leather seats. The original seats out of this car, they were cloth seats, and the driver's side particularly was quite worn. They're now sitting in the house. I just chucked them in the conservatory till I could get them to the skips, and they've now been claimed by the cats as somewhere to sleep. So the old seats at the MGF at the minute are providing a use. Hidden under here as well is the protective belly plan that goes under the floor of the MGF and protects the metal coolant pipes under there. This one's been, I got it from the same place, the same guy as I got the subframe from, so that's been shot blasted and galvanised as well. In the boot here I've got a few goodies as well that I bought for the MGF. So I've got a couple of MG branded floor mats, which I can't remember where I got them from now, but they were on offer, so I bought them. I've got the leather armrest. It came out the same MGTF as the leather seats. I've got the black windscreen surround trims. I'm on the hunt for a pair of black sun visors that aren't too expensive. I've also got a pair of the MGTF tail lights, and with the SAIC or SIAC back covers. I mean, these were never fitted by MG in the UK. They were never fitted to the Chinese built ones. But yeah, basically I went to U-Pull-It. There was an MGTF there, and I got a whole lot of parts off it, and paid 145 quid for the whole lot. There's a few other goodies in here. We've got hydroelastic fluid for the suspension in here, and a few other little bits and bobs, trim clips and such like. I've just been chucking stuff in the boot as I've been going along, and as time goes on we'll get all of this into Jet. A mod that I have done, and I will do a video on how I did it, somebody has asked me for that, so I will do it, is the electric boot release. I had started fitting this when I'd done the introduction to the car video, and actually by the time I got that edited and uploaded I'd actually finished installing it, but I didn't video any of the installation. So what I'll do is I'll do a video that shows you how this was all installed and what's involved in making it work. The last thing that I got off the MGTF up at U-Pull-It was this stainless steel exhaust back box. I believe that this is the same unit that Rimmer Brothers sells. So I got that, the leather seats, a few interior trim bits, the tail lights, etc., all for 145 quid. This exhaust retails at Rimmer's for 350 quid on its own, so we're going to swap that on. Not that there was anything wrong with the original mild steel exhaust, that's there, it's still quite solid and complete, it was relatively new. It's just that it's stainless steel, so it's better, so we're going to fit that. So yeah, that's a quick roundup on where we are with JET the MGF. She's in a little bit of a state, unfortunately, but we will get there. I had originally hoped that I would have the car back on the road for the Hubnut Social at the Motorist, which was just at the weekend past there. As you can see, I'm a follower of both Hubnut and Furious Driving, but unfortunately just life's gotten in the way, and this car, what was supposed to be a relatively small project, has turned into quite a major one. And that's part of why there's just no videos on it now. But I've been videoing stuff as I've been going along, not so much the welding, but I'll start filming the welding as I'm going. Hello Theo. And there will be videos will eventually get uploaded showing the progress of what I've been doing on this car, because I've got clips showing me taking the subframe out, refitting the subframe, and some of the other tasks I've been doing, so we'll get those videos edited and uploaded. It's certainly not going to be professional, but it might be of interest to somebody. So yep, there's an update on JET the MGF. I hope that you will keep following the progress of this little car and enjoy the videos that I do put out. I'm sorry this one's a mess, but there we go. So all it leaves for me to say now is just everybody be careful, and tatty bye the now.